The Shiites and the Sunnis, Muslims, why do they hate each other? Why did Saudi Arabia kill the Shiite cleric, and why did Iranians burn down the Saudi Arabian embassy? We'll talk about it today. And what is Obama going to do with the Second Amendment? You know, the right to keep and bear arms? Probably just trample on it a little bit. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
We will be talking shortly about Obama and the speculation about what he's going to do regarding the Second Amendment, acting again as a dictator. And we will also be talking about the election that's coming up, the less than a month away from the Iowa caucus. But we need to give a little history lesson because it's important. I beg your pardon. As you may have heard in the news, the Saudi Arabian government executed a Shiite cleric. Okay? He was in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabian government accused him of stirring up insurrection or difficulty. And as a result, in reaction, the Shiites in Iran burned down the Saudi Arabian embassy. I mean, I'm sure they put the fire out, but they set it on fire. They torched it. That's bad, all right? In the world of foreign relations, that Saudi Arabian embassy is Saudi Arabian soil. That's like an act of war against Saudi Arabia. Now, the barbarism of the Saudi Arabian government notwithstanding, and they are barbaric, okay? They are barbaric. And they're Muslim. They're probably, of all the countries in the world, they're probably the closest to living out Islam as started by Muhammad, okay? They're trying with all their might. Their constitution says so. We are building our laws upon the traditions of the prophet. I'm saying that in quotes. That's what they say. So they're trying. Their barbarism notwithstanding, what I want to focus on for a minute is the split between the Shiites and the Sunnis, because it has such impact to this day. And if the world is ever going to be free from the scourge or the scourge of Islam, it's part of that is going to be seeing the disintegration, the further disintegration between the Shiites and the Sunnis. So here's what happened. When Muhammad first started preaching his message in Mecca, his first convert was his wife, Khadijah. His second convert was his 10-year-old cousin named Ali, okay? When Ali was 10, Muhammad stood in front of a group of people in Mecca and said, "This is my heir." He said that of Ali. "This is my heir." And there were a couple of other times. Oh, and then when Ali became of age, Muhammad gave his daughter Fatima to him as a wife. Okay, so he married his daughter, second cousin to Ali, and they had children, Hassan and Hussein. You still with me? So he said, "This is my heir," Muhammad gives Ali his daughter, has grandchildren. Muhammad is recorded as playing with them, letting his grandsons ride on his back, carrying on. And he also said on one other time that Ali was the best of men. In front of a large group of people when Ali was older. And when they took Khaybar, the city where a lot of Jews lived, and they killed heaven knows how many people, took the women as sex slaves. Muhammad took a woman as a sex slave and then decided, "I'll make her my wife." He said, "I will give the flag tomorrow to someone who Allah loves, and he will conquer the city." So there was this buildup of evidence that Ali was to be the first successor, the first leader of the Muslim community after Muhammad died. So, Muhammad dies in 632 in Medina. He's got a sickness that lasts about 10 days, and he expires, he dies. They bury him right on the spot. Okay, he died in Aisha's bedroom, his child bride. And they dug a hole right there and put his body in it. Ali stayed with the body and helped bury the body for 3 days. He was there, they were grieving, praying. Meanwhile, there was a quarrel between some of the local residents of Medina and the old guard, Muhammad's closest friends, that had come in from Mecca. I'll tell you what happened. Don't go away. Friend, we are in the middle of producing a 14-part epic television series called What Would Muhammad Do?, explaining Islam and ISIS to the West. I have a master's degree in international terrorism, and I have studied ancient Islamic texts for over a decade. And we are going to do a very paced and a very scholarly look at Muhammad's life and see the connection of his life to today's headlines. Well, we need your help on 3 levels. 1, we need help with some security measures. 2, we need help with some gear for the studio. And 3, we need help with some computers. I'm inviting you to go to the GoFundMe site that you see on the screen and watch the pilot for episode 1. You'll get a feel for what it's going to be, and I promise you, you're going to be excited. You'll be challenged, and you're going to want your friends to see it. And then after you've seen it, give what you can to help us with this project. Thank you. Welcome back, friend. We're talking about the animosity, the hatred between Sunnis and Shiites, and giving you the history of how it started and why this conflict is going to continue until the world is free from the scourge of Islam itself. All right, so Muhammad died in 632, and he never made clear on his deathbed who was to succeed him as the leader of the community. There are some people, and his wives were around him, one of his concubines was near him, people were coming and going, he had a splitting headache, and there was some intrigue, there was some vying for who would become the next leader. So when he died, some of the local residents of Medina, where he had migrated to, said, well, we have the majority here, this is our town, he came here, one of us should be his successor. And the old guard, the people that traveled with him from Mecca, Umar, Uthman, they said, no, 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 no. It's got to be one of us. So it got very heated. It was, the whole thing almost flew apart at the seams. And after some negotiations, Umar nominated Abu Bakr to be the first successor. Meanwhile, Ali is just staying with Muhammad's dead body. Okay, and there were people saying to him, you need to go to this meeting that they're having, because if they elect somebody and it's not you, your life could be forfeit. They might kill you. And you're the one who said, he said when you were young that you were his heir, Muhammad's heir, so get in the room. He said he wouldn't do it. He would not leave Muhammad's side. He would not leave his dead body. So Abu Bakr was the father-in-law of Muhammad. Aisha, his child bride, she was the daughter of Abu Bakr. So Abu Bakr is able to persuade this room full of people and all the fighting going on that they're going to keep the community together under his leadership. All right? And then after a day or two, Ali finally pledges his allegiance to Abu Bakr, which was really critical because they thought, man, this thing could fly apart right now. Abu Bakr then launched the apostasy wars. The apostasy wars. Most of the Arabian Peninsula, or a lot of it, when Muhammad died, just said, okay, we're done with that. Going back to what we had before. And Abu Bakr said, no, you're not. Muhammad said he was just a messenger and he's dead, but God is still real and you worship Allah, you don't worship Muhammad, and you're going to keep worshiping Allah. And if you don't, then I will have my soldiers and my general, Khalid, Khalid bin Walid, I will have him come and kill you. So the apostasy wars were launched, and they were able to bring the lost sheep of the Muslim fold back in with the sword at their throat, like they brought them in the first time with the sword at their throat. Abu Bakr got sick after 2 years and died. The next man to take, so everyone thought, okay, is this when Ali is going to become the caliph, the successor? No, Umar was. Umar reigned, if my memory is correct, 7 or 8 years. And he ultimately was assassinated by a Christian slave. Once again, Ali swore his allegiance to Umar and preserved peace. But there were people that were grumbling. They wanted Ali to be the leader because he had Muhammad's grandsons. There were people who thought, listen, Muhammad said he's my heir, and we want a dynasty. We want family blood, like kings, to be our leader. So Umar dies. Then people said, okay, for sure it's going to be Ali now, but it wasn't. It was a man named Uthman, another one of Muhammad's close companions. And Uthman was an old man by that time. I think he was around 70 years old when he became caliph, and he lived another 8 or 10 years. So everyone thought, well, it should be Ali, but it's Uthman. He's old. He'll die soon. He didn't die. He was assassinated by Muslims. Now, I'm going to tell you when we come back from this break about the intrigue and about how this is what began to rip the Muslim community apart, okay? And the fight that ensued in the few years after that has never gone away. Stay with me. It's interesting, it's terrifying, and it shows that this is a religion of the sword, even with their own people. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas referred to John Locke twice in his dissent in the Obergefell decision. John Locke is referred to as the philosopher of American liberty. He was a genius, and he not only believed in natural law, but he believed in revealed law, the Word of God, the law of God. And he is one of the 2 most influential philosophers on the founders of this republic. We are offering you this book, and I'm going to give you my book as well, The Sword. The Sword, the subtitle is The Blessing of Righteous Government and the Overthrow of Tyrants. It looks at what is the legitimate purpose of government and when is it our right to overthrow government like they did with the Declaration of Independence. We will send you these 2 books if you simply pay for the shipping and handling, $8, and then give whatever else you want. And by the way, the $8 doesn't cover our cost, but if that's all you can afford, we'll send them to you for the $8. God bless you. As you probably have heard, the Iranians burned down the Saudi Arabian embassy in response to the Saudis executing a Shiite cleric, okay? But what I'm teaching you now is that the animosity between Shiites and Sunnis goes back to the very dawn of Islam. And we're going to get to how they got their names even, okay? So Uthman is an old man. Uthman is who canonized the Quran. Because people literally, during Umar's reign, people memorized the Quran. It wasn't written down. Did you know that, Bobby Sue? It was not written down. It was on stones. There were pieces of bark that they had written stuff on, papyrus, whatever. It was fragments all over, and some of it was just committed to memory. In a battle where the Muslims did not do well, a lot of the people who had memorized the Quran and were the ones who would recite it were killed. And so I think it was Uthman that urged Umar, you've got to order somebody, or it might have been Umar who urged Abu Bakr, but the point is that they said, look, we've got to write this thing down. Because if we do poorly in battle again and all the reciters die, the people who've got it committed to memory, we're in trouble because we're going to lose God's book. So they had it gathered as best they could. People who had it committed to memory and no one had it written down, they would recite it, and then they had a guy who wrote it all down, and then they put it somewhere for safekeeping. I believe it was with Fatima. But if I'm wrong on that one, forgive me, but might have been with Umar or his daughter. Some family member had it. And a lot of names here and a lot of details to remember, I promise you, and I'm not using a teleprompter. When Uthman was the caliph, the third caliph, you had Abu Bakr, Umar, then Uthman, he said, there's fragments flying around everywhere, and this guy says that the Quran has 114 chapters, this guy says it has 115, this guy says it's got 116 chapters. He said he got it all together, and he put it in the order that it is now, and he had all of their copies seized and burned, okay? There were a few that escaped his clutch, which is how we know that, and for hundreds of years, some of them existed. Now, this is a real problem, by the way, for the Muslims, because they say it's God's book, and that the real Quran is in heaven, and the one that we have down here is the perfect, exact replica, duplicate of what's in heaven, which is obviously nonsense. And they could not decide how many verses, how many chapters. Anyway, Uthman, with his own hand, would copy the Quran, and he's in his old age now, and he's got people around him that are running things that are corrupt, okay? That are just flat out corrupt. And people who were loyal to Ali came in while Uthman was literally working with the Quran, and they killed him. There's blood splattered on pages of the Quran. They murdered him. They know who did it. And then Ali, they said, okay, Ali needs to be the next successor. And they said, Ali, what are you going to do about these guys who murdered Uthman? And Ali said, I can't decide if what they did was right or wrong. And he didn't punish them. So that was as good as saying he agreed with the assassination. All right, so this really infuriated some people. All right, now here comes the name. Are you ready? The Sunnis, it comes from the word sunnah, it's related to that, the early path, all right? The early followers of Muhammad, his friends, his companions, they believe that Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and then Ali were all legitimate caliphs, successors. Sunnis call them the four rightly guided caliphs. They're the rock stars, okay? They're the rock stars of Islam after Muhammad himself, the four rightly guided caliphs. The Shiites, Shiite is an abbreviation for Shia al-Ali, which means the party of Ali. So the party of Ali believed, the Shia al-Ali believed that Ali should be the successor. From day one, it should have been him. The Sunnis said, no, it could be any of the rightly guided caliphs. It could be anybody in the Muslim community. And the Shiites, the party of Ali, said, no, it's got to be a blood relative of Muhammad. So finally they had their man in there. But their man would not execute the people that assassinated Uthman. Wait till you hear what happens next. You want to talk about intrigue, and it involves Aisha. Friend, this TV show represents a mission. It's to be a voice of resistance to the evil in the land, but also to inspire people like you to take a stand at any level that you might be able to equip you, to inspire you, to challenge you, to give you the rhetorical ammunition that you need. But we still have to pay bills. This program, as you know if you're a regular viewer, we don't spend a lot of time raising money. We don't spend a lot of time saying, oh, you need to buy this and we're going to... No, we're bringing you a message, but we still have bills that we need to pay. I'm asking you, if you have been blessed by this show, to please go to our website or send a check to the address you see on the screen or call the phone number that you see on the screen and use your credit card and to give $50 or $100 or $500 just to help us meet our normal expenses. And we'll keep bringing you this hard-hitting show. For those of you who are interested in knowing more about this, obviously you can read Al-Tabari. I've got the massive set behind me. There's other ancient Islamic sources that have been translated into English where you could get a history. An easy way to do it would be to read a book called After the Prophet. And the name escapes me who wrote it, but it was written in the last 5 or 10 years by a woman who just dug into Al-Tabari and then gave kind of it almost reads like a novel. But it's based primarily on the facts as recorded by Muslim historians. All right, so Ali is now in charge. But there are people that are outraged that he did not execute those who had murdered Uthman. And some of those corrupt people that I mentioned to you, they fled and they decided that they were going to have a revolt against Ali. So now Ali has got civil war on his hands for the first time. He had always pledged allegiance to avoid civil war. And now a civil war is begun. And Aisha travels and gathers men with her to meet in battle, her Muhammad's son-in-law. There was real hatred between her and him, mostly from her part, because she was accused of committing adultery once when she fell asleep or something. Her story, she fell asleep out in the desert. When they were leaving, the army was leaving, no one took her, no one brought her with them. And a man came and found her there and brought her back. So she comes strolling into town after the army is back, and there she is on the camel with this guy leading her. And so the rumors started going that she had had an affair with this guy. So Muhammad sought advice. What do I do? And Ali said, you can get more wives. Just put her away. Just divorce her. And he didn't take that advice, but she heard about it and she was enraged. She's a teenager at that point, okay? A young teenager. And she was enraged that Ali and never forgave him. So they fought. So she goes on a camel with chain mail all around the camel. And if you ever look for images of it, you see arrows, literally scores of arrows that people were shooting at this camel trying to kill her. And there was so much metal, so much chain link on it, the arrows are sticking out all over the thing. And none of them actually got to her. She was scratched. She had a couple little places where there was bleeding, but she had no mortal injury. And the forces of Ali won and wiped out thousands of Muslims. It was down to 300 men that were surrounding her, and they were just killing them. They were just surrounded by thousands of Ali's men, and they had killed thousands of those with Aisha, and they were getting closer and closer and closer. And finally, I believe Ali sent one of his sons he said, stop, just lay down your arms. If you guys will lay down your arms, we'll stop killing you. And they did. And someone came and took her out of the carriage that was sitting on top of the camel. He forgave her. She said something very inane like, Ali is the best of men. No apology, no recognition of the horror that she had unleashed. So now, with all these dead Muslims, in a full-blown civil war, it kept on going, and forces that were still loyal to Uthman and wanted his blood avenged, they got an assassin to kill Ali. Ali had 2 adult sons at that point, Hussein and Hassan. Okay? Hassan and Hussein. Barack Hussein Obama. Barack Obama, our president, is named after one of the sons of Ali, one of the grandsons of Muhammad. I have never been able to ascertain if his dad was a Shiite, but Hussein is a very popular Shiite name because Hussein was one of the heroes in this narrative. I'm out of time now, so I can't go further, but it wouldn't surprise me if the president, our president, gave this deal to Iran, knowing that they're going to get a nuclear bomb, because he was brought up by a Shiite father, and his loyalties are to the Shiites. I don't know if it's true. All I know is that The Sunnis and the Shiites have hated each other since then. There's been civil war against each other, killing against each other from that day forward, and it continues to today. Most of those that were loyal to Ali were in what was Persia, in his modern Iran, and the rest of the world, about 85 or 90% of the Muslims, remain Sunnis. And the conflict has been going on to this day. Hope you enjoyed the history lesson about the peaceful religion of Islam.